G'day everyone, just wanted to put this video out as a bit of communication to the Starr Strength community and anyone else who's interested, just to clarify a little bit about some of the announcements that have been made about the CrossFit Games season for 2021. Also just talk a bit about what we do know and what we don't know at this stage, and talk about within our training system at Starr Strength how we're going to be carrying out our program over the next 12 weeks as we lead into the Open, given there's going to be some changes to what we originally had planned, thinking that was going to be Feb 18. It's now going to be pushed back to March 11. And then finally, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the team stuff for the Affiliate Cup. But yeah, first of all, so what we know, what they've announced today, the big one obviously is the 3-week Open rather than the 5-week Open. So I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that are relieved to hear that. 5 weeks can drag on sometimes, depending on what kind of Open you're experiencing. So yeah, I think that's generally a positive thing for most people. So the 3-week Open is starting in March 11, running for 3 weeks. And then we've got these quarterfinals and semi-finals format. And they've given us some information around those. So with the quarterfinal stage, it will be a worldwide online stage like the Open, except they're saying that about 10% of the field, the 400,000 people that do the Open, about 10% of them will go through to the next stage. Now, with the quarterfinals, there's going to be different divisions. You've got the individual division, you've got the team division, and then you've got the age group division. They're going to happen over 3 different dates. So the first cab off the rank will be the individual quarterfinals. So those guys will compete in that. It's probably they said it's going to happen within the week of the 5th of April. So it's actually a pretty quick turnaround. So once the Open's finished, it pretty much rolls in. I think it's almost the next week into the individual part of that. I think it will probably be a similar format to what the age group qualifiers have been in the past, where they might release, say, 4 or 5 workouts that you've got to get done within the week and submit your scores online and that kind of thing. I'm speculating there, but I think that's what it'll probably be. Then we'll have a week break, and then it'll be the teams version, and then there'll be a week break, and then there'll be the age group divisions there. So that's how the quarterfinals are going to be laid out. The next stage is going to be the semi-finals. What they've said about the semi-finals is there's going to be 10 of them. They're going to be in-person events around the world, and they're going to happen across 6 different continents, is what they've said. They've also said that they've got contingencies in place, so backup plans for COVID restrictions and the need to perhaps do some of these ones online. So they've got a backup plan if that needs to happen. And they haven't said like how many people are going to get to qualify to this particular stage and then qualify through to the games. All they've said is that it's going to be an in-person event. The way to get to it is through those quarterfinals, which I just spoke about. So that's the semi-finals. And then you've got this thing called the last chance qualifier, and they're saying that that's there for people who have narrowly missed out on a spot to the games from those semi-final events. So sounds like it's a bit of a wild card event. It's online, they said, and that happens after those semi-final events are finished. Just going back to the semi-final events for a second as well, forgot to mention, they've said that they're going to happen over a 4-week period. So there'll be 10 of them happening around the world. And, you know, there might be one on one weekend, then the next weekend there'll be a couple, and the next weekend there'll be a couple. So there'll be 2 or 3 of them on each of those weekends, I'm assuming, over that 4-week period, similar style to what they've done with the regionals in the past. It sounds like it's probably going to be a centralized program for those events rather than independently run sanctionals, but we're still yet to know that information. What have I got here? And then, yeah, like I said, that last chance online qualifier, that's on the 28th of June. And then it goes into the games is going to be on I think it's 26th of July. Just checking my calendar behind that computer there. Yeah. So that's what they've announced. They've also announced that the Affiliate Cup is making a return, which means there's going to be a focus more on teams being created from affiliates and training at affiliates rather than super teams being made up of anyone from anywhere in the world. And then they've also got a new division, the adaptive division for this year's season, and in a different format with that. So that sounds awesome. And like I said, they've got online backups for each of these stages. So yeah, these are the main things we know at the moment. Some of the things we don't really know yet. So they're yet to release the rule book. So in the past, CrossFit Games have been a bit inconsistent about when they release the rule book. Sometimes it's been like well into January when they've released it. I'm hoping they release it before the 1st of January because most of the rules are in place from that point in time. But once that gets released, or, you know, whenever they give us some more updates, we'll start to know things like how many people qualify from each stage through to the next stage. So that's obviously important. We'll start to know things like what are the requirements for these teams with the affiliate cup format. So like, is it like it was before, more than half rules? So each team member has to train at that base gym for more than half of their training. So if they train 5 days a week, do they have to train 3 of those 5 days, for example, at the gym? So the intricacies of those rules are yet to be sort of posted and notified. And there was another thing here I had that we haven't found out about. Oh, the format of the quarterfinals. I kind of spoke about that already, but how they're going to release the workouts and how many of them they're going to be and that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of unknowns at this point, and we'll probably find out as we go through. But I think in the rule book, we'll get the bulk of this information when that rule book finally comes out, hopefully before the end of the year. Okay, so my thoughts, just some general thoughts on this whole thing so far from what I've seen. I think KHQ have done a pretty good job of creating a multi-stage event, which a lot of people have asked for, but with complaints about like people, you know, cheating or you know, doing dodgy reps in the open, that kind of stuff, for example. I think it's a good way of having a few different steps to get through, and also the last chance event for people to come in and get a spot. So I think they've done a good job of creating something that's flexible with this contingency and online backups for the events, and also multi-staged to allow each division and each stage to, you know, the athletes to have to pass through a few gates to qualify. So I think they've done a pretty good job there. The type of program and a type of test that will be in these events, for example, the Open, I think is going to be quite inclusive, especially because they've got these options for minimal equipment, I think, and home setups and stuff. So the type of workouts there, I think, will be like not too advanced skill-wise and potentially not too heavy, or at least accessible for people to be able to do, and the heavier weights are towards the end, that kind of stuff. And then I think when it gets to the quarterfinals, they'll try and save some of the more high skill elements for that. And that will be a little bit more kind of like your regional sanctionals level style loadings and skill sets in that. Having said that, they will, you know, although they want to make those first 3 weeks inclusive, they still will make sure that they test a broad range of things as best they can within the 3-week frame. So that may mean multiple scores for events, you know, 2-part events or 3-part events, and things like that. There'll be some kind of heavy lift because they have to test strength. There'll be some kind of, you know, something that really tests the gymnastics end of things and the different energy systems. So they'll still try to do that, but in an inclusive way in that first stage. But there will just come a couple of my general thoughts initially after seeing these updates. And then the other thing I was going to say was with the teams. I think that's going to be interesting. The quarterfinals for the teams. I think that's going to be fun, having the guys hitting like open style, you know, online qualifier style, but as a team. That's you know, going to feel a bit like doing the team series or something like that. For those of you who tried that, I think it's a pretty cool event as well. So interesting to see how it all pans out. All right, so moving on, what was my next thing here? We're talking about the Starr Strength programming for the next few months leading up to the Open. We originally thought it was going to be like an 8-week lead-in. It's now going to be about 12 weeks. So we're still going to treat this as a sport-specific prep phase. So still going to feel like you're doing like pretty like traditional sort of CrossFit general type training where, you know, there's a lot of variety and we're trying to cover all bases, not just, for example, off season where we might just be doing like purely strength for a period of time with a little bit of conditioning. It'll be still feel fairly generalized across the board in terms of the different elements we're focusing on. There will, however, be a stronger strength emphasis in this first 4-week block. So we're dividing these 12 weeks into 3 4-week blocks, each with a deload in the 4th week, and building up in our progressions from week 1, 2, and 3. The first 4-week block will have a slightly greater emphasis on strength development, and also foundational work on our gymnastics and our energy system work. So there won't be as much chaos in the training. There'll be more progressions and intervals, and sets and reps prescribed, and things worked a little bit more in isolation or in simple couplets for the first 4-week block. And there'll be a good amount of accessory work in there as well. The next 4-week block will become more specific with a more like CrossFit style sports pieces, more mixed modal work where we've got blended elements in our conditioning and not quite as sort of structured out and interval based. And then the final 4-week phase will be very much focused on like intense conditioning, not as high volume, and sort of peaking into that first week of the Open. So there's some general guidelines about what you can expect with that. But yeah, this first 4-week block is moving. We've just come more of like a hypertrophy kind of rep ranges on our strength work. We're actually going to more of a pure strength rep ranges, like that 3 to 5 rep range on our squats, for example. The gymnastics volume will be something that we're looking to increase volume of incrementally over each of the 3-week waves within the first part of these 4-week blocks as well. So yeah, that's just some background about what's happening in the next 12 weeks with Starr Strength programming. I'm available for consults if you guys want to book in and talk and ask about that, those of you on the program. And you need to talk in a bit more detail about how you're going to organize your weeks and which bias streams you want to follow and that kind of stuff. And then finally for this video, I wanted to talk about the affiliate considerations for the Affiliate Cup. If you are interested in being on a team, one of the Starr Strength teams, as always, we really thrive and enjoy that team aspect of the CrossFit competition. And the way the season is now, we've had to reconfigure how we create the teams rather than making them from our online community. And we have to identify bases where we're going to be about trying to base teams out of and form squads to get hopefully a couple of teams going. So we do have one team roster that's forming out of Botany Fitness, CrossFit Botany in Sydney. Ideally, we would like, because we're mainly based in Sydney, Starr Strength, we'd like to get a couple teams out of there. It'd be awesome. But the requirement, if you're interested in being part of that, or our other team, which we're looking to get, I've mentioned as well that we're looking to maybe form a team down around the Wollongong region. We've got some interest from some Starr Strength guys down there. So they're the two main hubs at the moment, the Botany Fitness one and the Wollongong hub. Now, if you're interested in potentially being considered in one of these rosters, or even if you're just interested in training with that crew and having a bit of a base there where you're pushing with some similar athletes with similar goals, and want to be considered potentially for a team, then they're our locations within the Starr Strength community at the moment. And please let me know if you haven't already indicated to me that you're interested in that. And the requirement will be that from the 1st of Jan, we believe, once the rule book comes out, but I'm speculating here, but I think that you will probably need to be doing more than half of your training at that location and documenting it out of there as well. So if you're interested in that, start thinking about making arrangements to be able to do that. It's probably going to look like at least 3 times a week you'll need to train there. Not necessarily when the team is, but when it is convenient for you, and then that will allow you the eligibility to be on a team. So yeah, just important information if you need to make arrangements to be able to do that. But that's about it, guys. Just wanted to get that information out there. Hopefully there's some stuff that's been clarified for you about the announcements that have come out. I'm sure we'll get more and more information, and some of this information that I'm saying now might maybe a little bit off, or they'll do another update soon. So, I think, at the time that I'm sort of saying this, it's the 18th of December. Things change pretty fast, especially with COVID and stuff like that. Things change, but yeah, hopefully that was helpful. And get in touch if you're interested in following the Starr Strength program in between now and the Open. Really excited to be kicking that off for you guys. And also with the team stuff, let us know if you're interested in that. Any of you Starr Strength guys or anyone else out there. All right, thanks guys, and enjoy your training over the next 12 weeks. See you in the Open.